Welcome to the ASUN Conference Men's Basketball Preseason Show, as we're only 10 days away from first tip in the 2016-17 season. Last year, North Florida collected the regular season title for the second consecutive year, while the FGCU Eagles took the ASUN Championship crown to earn the automatic berth in the NCAA tournament. March Madness roared in like a lion, with the 7th-seeded Stetson Hatters busting the bracket and reaching the championship final for just the third time in school history. 3 ASUN teams competed in postseason tournaments last year, and the upcoming season promises more of the same exciting action, with familiar faces such as North Florida senior guard Dallas Moore and FGCU senior forward Mark Eddie Norelia back on the hardwood. Joining us now in studio is ASUN Commissioner Ted Gumbart. Ted, tell us, can this be one of the most balanced seasons the ASUN has had?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And with the returning players, they're coming in as a mature group of teams, not a young group of teams. So I think not only that they're going to be well matched for exciting conference play, but they're going to be well prepared to be improved over last year, and we can get more non-conference wins that way, which really helps the whole league.
It certainly does. How important is the continuity of the league in terms of coaches? You've got 7 of 8 back, and Brian Kennedy was an assistant at NJIT a year ago.
Well, anytime you can have that, you don't have to learn a new system. You don't have to get to know what your role is, and so you're getting better at that defined role. We've got a great group of coaches, and I really think they're going to get the most out of their players. And when you have a little bit of maturity with your team and continuity with coaches, again, I think it's setting up to be a great year in ASUN basketball.
And part of that is the championship game. This year it moves to ESPN. How important is that for the ASUN?
Well, I'll tell you, overall, our partnership with ESPN has been tremendous, and we value everything that they do for us. But to be able to be on the main ESPN1 channel is a reflection of what our teams have done the last few years. And I think when you look at it, other than the Power 5, there's 3 conferences that have won 4 games over the last 4 years and that have a 500 record or better in the tournament. That's the West Coast Conference, it's the Missouri Valley Conference, and it's the Atlantic Sun.
Well, hopefully part of that also is consistently improving the officiating, and you're working this year with the SEC and the American. How will that help?
Well, that's a new program that we put together. We've had an informal relationship, but now it's formal. And the SEC coordinator, Mark Whitehead, is also our coordinator and for the American. And he coordinates all 3 leagues. He assigns them together. Most of the referees will cross over and work games in both of our leagues, all 3 of our leagues. And so we think it's a great step for us, efficiency-wise, education-wise, and that the performance on the floor. They're accountable, and if they want to move up, they need to do a good job.
Indeed they do. And we look forward to a terrific year of ASUN basketball. That's the Commissioner Ted Gumbart. We'll be back with coaches' interviews and a full preview of the 2016-17 season after this commercial break.
Forever looking forward.
We're committed to progress and a bright future.
Together we shine.
We elevate student athletes to create a better world.
Blaze the path.
Undaunted, we challenge norms.
To enlighten and innovate.
It's a new day.
For no matter the height of our obstacles,
They will never block the sun. We can
Connect.
Put student athletes first.
impact.
Rise. Every day.
Welcome back to the ASUN Men's Basketball Preseason Show, and we start with USC Upstate, picked 8th in the conference. Their head man is the Dean of Coaches in the ASUN, and that's Eddie Payne. Eddie, thanks very much for a few minutes.
Glad to be here, Neil.
With the conference this year, the fact that all 8 teams last season finished between 4 and 10 wins, and they have so many guys coming back, is it as deep as it's been in a while since you've been here through so many different seasons?
Well, I certainly think that. If you look at our teams, if we're, quote, picked to finish 8th, and we're playing the top team, I think there's less of a difference between those 2 programs than they have been in past years. I think every team seems to be, to be honest with you, somewhat improved. I think the level and the balance in the league is the best it's been since I've been here.
You're led by Michael Buchanan, one of these 2 seniors on the roster. Give us his story and how much he's improved over the last several years and what you're looking for from him this year.
Well, Michael has really improved over time. He's in his 5th year. He's advanced in so many different ways as a human being, as a student, as a player, and we're real I'm real proud of him. He's a success story in not just college athletics, but as a student, as an individual on a university campus. And so, you know, and you add to the fact that he's 6'11", about 285 or so, he's a different type of guy that not a lot of teams in our league have somebody quite that big. So he's probably the focal point for us. And he's a matchup that other people have to game plan. So, you know, he gives us something that hopefully will be beneficial to us as we get into the league play.
Another matchup problem I would assume for many clubs is Dion Holmes. How impressive was his freshman year, and how much do you expect in terms of growth as a sophomore?
I thought Dion had a decent freshman year. I think he had, just like our entire team, he had a learning curve that he was going through. Because we played so many freshmen last year, and he's made an improvement. He's a really hard worker. He's been doing his very, very best to improve his game in the offseason, in the weight room, all those types of things. His attitude is exceptional. So, you know, we're hoping that he will continue to make progress, as we believe that about all our young men.
That's USC Upstate and their head coach, Eddie Payne. They bring back 90% of their offense from a year ago and have just 2 seniors on the roster, and they will open up play Saturday, November 12th at Georgetown. Next up is Kennesaw State. Last year they were 500 in conference play under their first-year head coach, Al Skinner. Al, what do you look for in year 2 with the Owls?
Well, the most important thing is that we have some leadership that are returning. We got our upperclassmen, our 2 co-captains, Kendrick Gray and Aubrey. We're really looking forward to their leadership. We have a lot of young players that are going to have to fill in the gaps, but it's an interesting mixture. You know, you have upperclassmen and you got a large freshman class, and that's always very challenging. But I'm very much looking forward to us meeting a challenge. We're a little more familiar with the league, a little more familiar with the personnel, coaching styles. So overall, you know, I think we can make some improvements.
You've built up a couple programs before in Rhode Island and also Boston College. So tell me what you learned in your first go-round with Kennesaw State that will help you here in year 2.
Well, the thing that's most important is that everyone has got a feel for the way we want to play. My coaching staff, they understand the ins and outs of the offenses and defenses that we like to run. There's some leadership on the floor from the guys returning from last year. So we're really kind of excited about the progress that we can make. But the most, again, I think we're a little further along at this point in time than we were a year ago. So I'm really kind of excited about the upcoming year and the successes that we can possibly have.
As you grow the program, what are the qualities you're looking for your teams on and off the floor?
Well, the most important thing is making sure that guys really take care of themselves off the floor. Because the less problems they have off the floor, the less problems they're going to have on the floor. They can concentrate on that and be prepared. We're fortunate, as I said, we got some guys returning that kind of understand what it's going to take for us to be successful. I think we got rid of some of the baggage that had existed in the program before. The attitude is right. Guys are showing up on time, doing what they're supposed to do in the classroom. So it's really given us an opportunity to do some good coaching, and they've been very receptive to that.
Elaborate a little bit on the growth of Kendrick Ray, your top returning scorer.
Well, the most important thing is that he can score the basketball. I think everyone recognizes that. Now it's just a matter of developing his overall game, handling the ball, trying to get other guys better, improving himself on the defensive end. I think he's a fairly good defender, but I think he's a better defender now. So his overall game and his leadership is going to be extremely important to our team's success.
You've got a very large recruiting class in terms of numbers and size. How do you think the group will help you this season in the ASUN?
Well, right now, I think they just have to fill in the gaps. I mean, that's the most important thing. They all bring different talents to the table. And I think overall, as we move forward, I think it's going to really be a nice blend. But right now, they just got to fill in the gaps. So I'm not exactly sure what we need, but I think we got a lot of talent to work with and really a foundation to build on as far as the future is concerned.
That is Al Skinner. He is the head coach at Kennesaw State, and they will open up on the road against Big Ten opponent Iowa on November 11th. Next up is Jacksonville University. They were tied for second in the ASUN last year. This is the third season for head coach Tony Jasick. And Tony, before you came to Jacksonville, you were at IPFW where you had a terrific turnaround in year 3. How are the situations similar and different?
Well, I think they're similar in that we have a number of returning guys this year at JU, much like we did in Fort Wayne a few years ago. Obviously we had a ton of success going from year 2 to year 3 in Fort Wayne, and I'd be more than happy if we could mirror that success going into year 3 here at JU.
You've got 3 double-digit scorers returning: Marcel White, Darius Dawkins, J.R. Holder. What are you expecting from that trio this season?
I think we need for them to all take another step in their overall game. Both sides of the floor, offensively and defensively, we need to improve. I also think that those 3 guys need to take on a little bit more of a leadership role within our team and our locker room, as we do add a number of new guys to the fold who we are expecting to contribute, and they need to rely on some of our older guys with regards to leadership throughout this time of the year, as well as the beginning of the season here coming up.
It's a big class, not only in terms of freshmen, but also transfers and also some guys who redshirted. Who among that group do you think can have an immediate impact this year?
You're right. It is a kind of a unique mix, because we do have a lot of new guys to our, I guess you'd say, active roster. Before those guys were in our program last year. Obviously, Cody Helgelin sat out last year. Andres Misters, who's coming back after a knee surgery. Darius Dawkins is also, he was out for the second half of league play. And then Devin Harris sat out as a transfer last year. So those 4 guys were in our program last year, and we're expecting big things from them as we head into this year, along with a couple of our newcomers, namely Tyrone Sam and Tanner Rubio, who are two of our newcomers that we think will have a chance to help us as we head into the year this year.
It seems to be a very balanced league this year in the ASUN. So tell us, if you're to return to the top half of the league, what types of things do you think this group needs to do maybe better than it did a year ago?
I agree with you. I think there are a lot of returning players in the league. I think the league is well coached. So you're going to have to be prepared to play every night out. I know it sounds very cliche, but I do think the ASUN is in a really good position when it comes to basketball and the parity in the league. For us, we've got to be really good on the defensive end. We've got to make sure that we continue to grow as an offensive basketball team. I thought at times last year we showed flashes of being able to play quality basketball in long stretches. Hopefully we can do that earlier this year and continue it throughout the year.
That's Jacksonville University. Their head coach is Tony Jasick. Again, they've got 3 double-digit scores returning, and they were tied for second in the ASUN last year. Let's turn to number 5 in our preseason poll. Stetson last year made a terrific run to the tournament championship final, their first appearance there since 1994. Their 4th-year head coach is Corey Williams. Corey, tell me, what did it mean to get to the final, and what will it do you think, for your program?
Well, I thought it was a major accomplishment for our program last season, just to be able to play in the championship game in that atmosphere at Florida Gulf Coast. I thought it taught us a lot about who we were as a basketball program and as a basketball team. And certainly I think it has helped us in us coming back this season with a profound belief that if we play like we did at the latter part of our season, that we can accomplish a lot of our goals that we set for ourselves personally.
You got a jump start on this 2016-2017 season. You went to Canada for a tour there this summer. How do you think that helped you grow as a basketball team?
Well, I just think what it did, it allowed us to get back on the court and experience some of the challenges that we experienced early in the year and try to get that stuff worked out over in Canada. But to get the new guys experience, get Larry some experience in a game atmosphere, I thought it was very good for us as a program and as a team. And I hope that, this allows us to be a little bit more prepared as we embark on our 2016 and 17 season.
This is a team where all the kids now but one are your recruits. Brian Pegg is the only one who isn't. As a 5th-year senior who led the conference in rebounding last year, what has he meant to the program?
He's meant a whole lot. Brian is one of those guys who come to work early and leaves late. He does all the dirty work. He rebounds. He battles guys that probably are a lot bigger than he is, but somehow, some way, he comes up with that basketball. And he's been a good leader for our guys, a good example of what it means to have a workmanlike attitude and to come to practice giving 110% every day. And so certainly he's not a kid that I recruited, but I feel like he's my son because since I've been here, he's been here, and I'm awfully proud of what he's done. And we want to make sure that Brian experienced something that he's never experienced in his years here at Stetson, and that's the opportunity to go to the postseason.
That's certainly a terrific compliment, and he had a terrific compliment on the floor last year in Derek Newton as a freshman. How much has Derek grown, and what do you expect as a sophomore?
You know what, Derek exceeded expectation last year. You know, when I recruited him, I knew he was a good basketball player, but I never envisioned that he would average about 16 points a game. And so he certainly exceeded expectation. But, you know, like I told Derek this year, the opportunity for him to be a leader, he's not a freshman anymore, he's a sophomore. And who says a sophomore can't be a leader? And the things that he has to continue to do is he has to improve on his rebounding, and he has to continue to get consistently become a better shooter from the perimeter as well as his ball handling. So those are the challenges that I put forth to him, and he understands what he needs to do. And I'm excited to have Derek a part of our team.
That's Corey Williams. He is the head coach at Stetson University. Again, they've got a lot back, including 3 double-digit scores. Made the final in the ASUN tournament last year. They open this year on November 11th against Weber International. Let's move now to the top half of the league and Lipscomb University. They're picked to finish 4th under their 4th-year head coach, Casey Alexander. And Casey, now in your 4th year, you've got all of your kids now in the program. So give us an idea as to what the identity of Lipscomb University basketball now is.
Well, I think anytime you have consistency and continuity within the program, it's going to benefit you, especially when you're trying to build the program and make change. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be better or things are going to go like we want them to, but we have less distractions. We have much greater understanding of who we are and what we want to be, and as a coach, that's what you want. That's a real important step to being a good team and having a program that's has a foundation that's built to last.
You went on a mission to the Dominican this summer. You also trained at Fort Campbell. How did those experiences help this group?
Well, I think they'll help us a lot. I know that we came together in pretty significant ways. Anytime you spend that kind of time doing that kind of work, it's going to benefit your guys. You know, learned a lot more about each other off the floor. And anytime you like I mentioned, you have that just that cohesion and the togetherness that comes from trips like that, and from going through good times, tough times, all the things that you can encounter on such trips, then it's going to benefit you on the floor for sure, I think.
On the floor this year, you've got a kid who's coming back from injury, but has also been quite a scorer in Josh Williams. How's he come along health-wise, and how vital is he to your success?
Well, he's very vital to our success, and we learned that the hard way last year when he went down, and it took us quite a while to recover and to find out who we were going to be without him. So he's not ready. If you look at full recovery, I don't think he's quite there yet, but he's practicing every day. He's effective. Josh has always been more of a gamer than a practice guy anyway, so we're hopeful that when the lights come on, there will be very small, noticeable difference in what we've seen in the past and what he's going to give us in the future.
His injury allowed guys to evolve, though, specifically Nathan Moran. Tell us how he grew as a player.
Well, Nathan he's just the guy that our team depends on for energy. Nathan loves to play the game. He's that way in practice every day. And, you know, when you're a point guard especially, those are great characteristics to have. And so he's our leader, he's our captain, and we obviously need him to have a big year as well if we want to do anything significant.
You've got a talented kid up front who transferred in from Western Kentucky. How do you think Rob Marbury will fare this year?
Well, Rob fits our style of play very well. We think he's a very effective low post player. We think he's a scorer first, which is important for us. But he also is a guy that plays with great energy, just like Nathan, and a guy that we think can really change our team. George Brandmeier's been a very efficient player for us in his first 2 years here, and collectively those two guys give us a pretty good punch in the interior.
As you can see, Lipscomb brings back a talented group, 3 players who averaged in double digits a season ago, and they open their season on Friday, November 11th against Sewanee. Let's move now to number 3, and NJIT, which is the only team in the ASUN with a new coach. But he certainly is quite familiar. Brian Kennedy was an assistant on last year's team that went to the CIT semifinals. So Brian, tell me, what does it mean to be in that head chair?
It's a great opportunity. I'm so thankful for the chance. Special thanks to Dr. Joel Bloom and our president, and Lenny Kaplan, our athletic director, for giving me this opportunity here at such a great academic and burgeoning athletic school.
Now, last year you were the assistant coach. It was the first year for NJIT in the ASUN. So what did you learn in that first go-round?
Some great teaching moments for our guys. Two games in particular that really come to mind. One was our first league game that was here at the Fleischer Center against USC Upstate. And I think the intensity level of the game and the preparation of a league opponent really took our guys by surprise and helped prepare us for the rest of the season. And the second game I would point to was our first league playoff game against Stetson. And just the intensity level that was brought in the playoff game. So I think those two things really were great teaching points for our team about league play, about, just the intensity and what it takes to be successful in league play.
You've got several of those players back, including Damon Lynn, one of the top players in the league. How do you think he'll progress this year?
Damon's a special player. At our level, he's a once-in-a-generation player. He's on pace to challenge the NCAA three-point shooting mark. He's come in here and just really put a stamp on the program. He was named a tri-captain this year, so his responsibilities will be a little bit different. He's always been a natural team leader, but now as a captain, his role will change a little bit, but he's more than ready for it, along with his other two captains, Tim Coleman and Rob Ukawuba. The three seniors are really have done a great job in the preseason, and I expect nothing less during the year for them to lead us.
Those three seniors won't get the chance to play in your new arena, which opens 10 months from now. How's that going to help your program and your recruiting? I tell the three seniors are going to have a special plaque in there, along with all the former players who helped make this a reality. But the new wellness center here on NJIT's campus, a $102 million building. It's great not only for athletics and for men's basketball, but also for the university as a whole. And it really positions ourselves to compete with any mid-major program in the country. It's really a great facility that we're building here. That is Brian Kennedy. Again, he's the head coach this year at NJIT. In addition to Damon Lynn, he mentioned Tim Coleman, who averaged just under 14 points a game a season ago. Let's move now to number 2. The University of North Florida has won the last 2 regular season championships. Can they make it 3? Their head coach is Matthew Driscoll. Matthew, give us an idea what you need to do to be able to win a 3rd straight crown.
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. We're entering our 8th season, which is amazing to think that we've been here that long. And, to do something that's not been done in 6 years when Belmont did it, and have an opportunity to do something that hasn't been done in 20 years when the great coach John Kress did it at the College of Charleston, win 3 or more straight championships. It's an exciting time for us. It's different, but it's the same. And that's kind of how we've approached it. We've lost over 4,000 points, yet we still have 4 starters back, which is kind of strange when you think, well, really, Coach, if I look at last year's roster, we only count 3. But when you add Romello Banks, who wasn't able to play last year for us because of an injury, you're talking about 4 guys that have started a lot of games and have played a lot of minutes and have a lot of experience. And then you throw in a guy like Aaron Bottiger, who's the 8th best shooter in the history of the league. And last year, believe it or not, in a trivia question, you probably miss it, he actually led the league in 3-point shooting last year coming off the bench. So there are some really fine pieces in place when you look at Dallas Moore, preseason player of the year, Chris Davenport, unanimous all-league selection. We have some depth. However, the different part is the part of the newness. The guys that have come aboard, so to speak, junior college transfer, and then a bunch of freshmen who are very talented. Some guys that we'll really rely on heavily to give us some great minutes, some scoring, and the ability to continue to build our program like we've always wanted to since the very, very beginning. However, like you guys know, a lot of the mid-major publications have selected our league as the toughest league in America from top to bottom. And you look at last year, I mean, it was 3 teams tied for second, 2 teams tied for third, and if everybody shook it up a little bit different, went a little Yahtzee, we could have 4 or 5 teams that tied for first place. And it's going to be an exciting year in the Atlantic Sun.
Out of league, you get to host Florida and the University of Miami. What does that mean to your program?
Well, you know, first of all, we're the only team in the league that plays 6 Power 5 teams. And then you don't consider, and America doesn't consider, but UConn is about as Power 5 as they come. They've won more championships than a lot of Power 5 teams. And when you have those 7 guys on your schedule, and you add other teams as well, too, it really gives you an understanding. It gives you an insight. It gives you some clarity as you go into the conference season starting January 7th at Jacksonville. So because of that non-conference slate, we've always done it ever since we've been here. And it's a double-edged sword. We do it from a monetary aspect because we have to. It's something that we have to do for our athletic program and for a lot of good reasons. And then secondly, we do it because our guys like playing against that kind of talent, those kind of names. But the greatest blessing this year is we do get 2 of them at home. Miami comes to our house and Florida comes to our house. So it'll be great to have this arena filled again, to have those kind of teams finally coming here to play us.
The University of North Florida and their head coach, Matthew Driscoll. Again, as you can see, they've got the Player of the Year back in Dallas Moore, and they open on the road at Auburn on November 11th. We move now to the top, where FGCU last year won the ASUN tournament, and now they try and win the regular season title. They're the preseason favorite. Their head coach is Joe Dooley. And Joe, tell me what it meant to win the ASUN tournament last year and how you think that experience may help you this year.
Well, I think one of the good things with a lot of returning guys, it gave them an experience to share some things with each other. And I think the big thing is with all these guys coming back now, they know what it takes. We had a little bit of a rough stretch during the regular season last year, played a little bit better towards the end, and hopefully took some confidence into the summer and into the preseason.
You also look to jumpstart this season by going to the Bahamas last summer. How do you think that experience helps this group gel toward 2016-17?
Well, the practice was a great experience, as well as the guys being able to spend a lot of time with each other over in the Bahamas. We only played 3 games. We were able to have some fun. I think the guys worked hard during the 10 practices, and we said if you practice hard, we'll have some fun in the Bahamas. They did. And I think it was a good way to get some offense and some defensive principles in that the guys had sort of forgot during the postseason. So hopefully that helped us during September and October.
During the course of October, you had your top player injured, Mark-Eddie Norelia. How do you think that hurts the start of this season in terms of the chemistry and him getting his reps in?
Well, one thing, obviously, you don't like having your leading scorer standing on the sideline, but I think it helps the other guys to get some reps. One of the negatives is obviously, you like to get some continuity going into the season. We have a real tough stretch to begin the year, but I think it'll allow guys like Kevin Mickle, Demetrius Morant, obviously Antravis Simmons is back, so those guys to get some reps and to get some familiarity with each other. But we'll have to turn a negative into a positive.
You mentioned the tough schedule you have. You've got Florida, you've got Michigan State, you've got Baylor on the schedule. How do you think that will prepare you for the ASUN?
Well, we've also got Texas Arlington, who won at Memphis, and at Ohio State as our second game of the season. We've got Georgia Southern, who's going to be very good. We've got a really good schedule. Long Beach State is predicted to win the Big West. I hope that will prepare us. We've got some tough battles on the road. We've got some good home games, and hopefully that'll prepare us for the start of league play in January.
And in terms of your ball club, we've mentioned some of the top players returning. How about Zach Johnson, who had such an instrumental role and is a preseason all-conference selection?
Well, Zach, to his defense, I think, after the year off, started very slowly. I think he started figuring some things out by conference play, his pace of practice, and I think he's made a big jump. Most of the players seem to make a big jump from their freshman to sophomore years, which he has. I think all the younger guys in our program have gotten better, which I think helps us.
Again, it is a very talented FGCU team. You take a look at the numbers, they've got 3 double-digit scorers returning and nearly 80% of their offense from a year ago, and they begin against the University of Florida in Jacksonville. The 39th season of ASUN men's basketball tips on November 11th with half the league in action. 2 of those games can be seen on the ESPN family of networks, and the entire conference slate is available on the Watch ESPN app for the 3rd straight season, culminating with the championship game airing on the ESPN flagship at 3 p.m. Sunday, March 5th. Connect with the league throughout the season on Twitter at ASUNMBB using the hashtag WeCan.